to YouTube. 1, 2, 3. We are going live on YouTube.
Okay.
Let's see, it's getting connected.
As a non-native.
Perfect. So we are live on YouTube. Welcome, my friends. Welcome. I'm Faraz Shaikh, and welcome to another meetup today. And today I have a very lovely friend from UK. You might have seen her sitting on the other end of the hot seat. And she's Traci. And today she's going to talk about something really exciting. Something excelling in Excel. That's really interesting chapter, interesting title which I have seen from her coming up. So without taking much of your time, I'm going to hand over the stage to Miss Traci, and she can introduce about herself and she can show something great stuff. What is there for us for today?
Thanks, Faraz. Faraz forgot to tell everybody then that it's also his birthday today. So happy birthday, Faraz.
Thank you, Traci. Thank you.
So I'm going to start sharing my screen. I've got a presentation, and surprisingly, I've not done it in PowerPoint. I've done it in Excel because I love Excel. So this is my presentation. This is my company. It's Excel Ace. My contact details are here, so feel free to connect with me if you're not already. I absolutely love spreadsheets, and I started my own business 15 years ago called Excel Ace, and I have literally just been loving running this business for the last 15 years. I'm surprised it's lasted so long, and I'm so grateful that it has. So I thought this presentation, I could just explain some of the things that I've gone through over the years, how simple it's been, how hard it's been, and some of the challenges that I've faced. So I've got lots of sheets here, but don't worry, they're not too full on. So I thought I'd introduce myself first. So this slide's all about me. So this is me, clearly at a friend's wedding. I live near Liverpool in the UK, so home to the Lyrebirds, the Beatles, Liverpool Football Club you're probably familiar with. I don't actually live in Liverpool. I live on the Wirral, which is over here, and this little XLA symbol here, this is exactly where my house is. And the beauty of living on the Wirral is that we're really close to Liverpool, but we get to look at that beautiful skyline, which you can't get to see when you're actually in Liverpool. So that's where I live. I thought I'd show you some of the things that I love. So I love beaches, I love going on holiday, I love partying, I love going to live shows, I love birthdays. So again, happy birthday, Faraz, happy birthday to you. I love laughing, and most of the time it's this bunch of girls that I do most of those things with. So I love hanging out with my friends. The things that I don't have are babies and a husband. So I don't have any of those at the time being, but I am still waiting for Prince Charming to come along. So that's on the wish list. In the meantime, I have this gorgeous little creature called Bobby. He is 12 and a half years old, and he is a little superstar. This is where he normally lies beside me. His little sofa's down here, and he literally sleeps there all day while I'm at work at my desk. So that's a little bit about me. I thought I'd tell you a little about my early career. So I am 46. Am I? Yes, I am. I am 46. So I was born in 97. By the age of 20, I had studied the AAT and got qualified with the Association of Accounting Technicians. So during that time, I was working in accountancy practice. And I think one of my first jobs there, they allowed me to add up a trial balance with a calculator. They hadn't got as advanced as actually using spreadsheets. Okay, so it was all sort of calculator, pen, pencil, and trial balances at that point. I then moved on to Unilever, and I got a role as an assistant management accountant. And I started to work with spreadsheets at that point. I had two roles. I had the assistant management accountant, and then I became a reporting manager. When I went to Unilever, I also started studying CIMA, Chartered Institute of Management Accountants, And to this point, I'm still just part qualified. I never passed that very last exam. I lost the will to live, to be fair. So, but I'm quite far through my exam, my accountancy exams. So it was at Unilever that I first encountered spreadsheets. So this is the spreadsheet sheet. This is about as much as you're going to see about actual spreadsheets today. The first thing I encountered was pivot tables. And I didn't have a very good teacher. So my manager at the time was a girl called Karen, and she wasn't very helpful. She literally just threw pivot tables at me and expected me to know what they were. And I really struggled to understand what they were, how they worked, how to make them change. And it was a really difficult process for me. So pivot tables were the bane of my life for a long time. The other thing that used to throw me a lot was these little comments, the little red triangles. And what would happen was I would have some numbers and I might right click to go down to format cells, but I'd miss and I'd go to comment, which or I'd go to note, it was comments, wasn't it, years ago, and the little red triangle would appear. But I didn't know that's what I'd done. So I literally would say to Karen, I'd say, oh, a little red triangle's appeared on the screen. And she would huff and puff and she'd stomp over to my desk and she'll lean over me and she would do something and it would disappear. But she never told me what the problem was. And it was surprisingly one day, I think I was just, I right clicked and I discovered that I just clicked on the note too soon. So instead of going to format cells, I was adding the note. And I realized all I needed to do was right click and do delete note. That's all I needed to do. And that was it, problem solved. And it really annoyed me because I thought if she'd have just told me that, I could have saved all of that heartache, if you like. And it was at that point that I realized that really Excel is really doing exactly what you ask it to. So I started to like Excel a little bit more. And then Karen left and I got a new manager who was really helpful and really great at sort of explaining things to me and showing me how to make Excel do what I needed it to do. So I then started to challenge Excel a lot more. I had to use it all day, every day in every part of my job. And I just loved the logic of it, that it always would do exactly what you asked it. So I quite soon became that person in the office that people would go to if they ever had a problem with spreadsheets. And I just loved them. It was great. I always remember in a meeting one day, we were discussing a process and I said, oh, well, we'll just put a VLOOKUP in there and we'll put a pivot table there and we'll do this. And one of the guys looked at me and said, that's easy for you to say, but we don't all know all those formulas and we don't know how to do all of that. And I was really surprised that not everybody was using Excel in the same way that I was. So that was a real shock, to be honest. I was quite surprised by that. I just thought everybody knew Excel like I knew it as well. So this is kind of my falling in love with spreadsheets moments. Within the role that I had as reporting manager at Unilever, we had a challenge. Oh, let me go back over here. So the challenge was that my role this is my role originally. There were 18 factories. There was one business unit. I was the only team member and we had 2 days to report month end. So essentially what would happen at Unilever is we'd get all the factories, all 18 would send their reports in and I would have to consolidate all the 18 factories reports and using Excel, split them up by country, by product group and by product, that should say. Okay, so I'd have to slice and dice, if you like, the reports into different categories, different types of data. And I had 2 days to do that and that was my job and it was fine, it wasn't a problem. They then decided that they were going to make some changes. So they suddenly decided to merge 3 business groups together. And that meant there was suddenly going to be 84 factories. So 84 factories, 3 business units. They were going to give me 2 more members of staff. And the timescale was exactly the same. So it was pretty daunting. It was a big challenge, a big thing to overcome. I put some cute little spark lines in there to show you the increase. Obviously, it was a lot. It was a big increase. The issues that we had were that the 3 business units, so by business groups, what I mean there is we had home and personal care was one of the business groups, which was kind of personal and deodorants and that kind of thing, washing powder. And then one of the other business groups was ice cream. So all of a sudden you were trying to compare tons of volume with litres of volume, and it just kind of didn't merge very well. So we had different units of measure. Each different business group used a different system, and they all used different terminology. So we needed to come up with one method of reporting that fit all 84 factories, basically. So it was a bit of a tall order. And they literally gave me 3 months. I had to plan, set up and implement this new process. I also had to then train 2 new members of staff on how to do it. And I had to then communicate and train 84 factories on this brand new process. And of course, that included writing, support and documentation for them. Okay, so there was quite a lot to do in a very short space of time. But I absolutely loved it. I loved the challenge of it. I loved being able to get creative with Excel, and I loved just having that freedom to just do whatever it needed to work. So after that first month, after 3 months, the first month end process, it was, oh, is it going to work? Is it not? And did it work is the question. And absolutely it did. It was amazing. It literally, we still reported in exactly that 2-day timeline that we had previously. And it was such an achievement, and I absolutely loved it. Okay, so it was a great job. Then what next? Well, I was bored, because the next month, well, it was just as simple as it was the month before, but there was no challenge in between. It was just the same old. And it wasn't, it just didn't grip me anymore. And I kind of realized that what I really loved was getting my teeth into that problem and being able to find a solution and roll that out and do the training and everything else that came with it. That's what I really loved. So I started thinking about getting a new job. So I started looking for a new role. Obviously, I was looking for something that would challenge me in the way that did as a project. But there isn't ever really a full-time role that offers all of those challenges on an ongoing basis. I mean, I know things change quickly, but not that quickly. It was always going to be a case of I'd get a job where I could change something, and then that would just become the norm again. So I did find another job, which didn't tick all of the boxes, to be fair, but then what role was going to? So I moved to a new role, and I discovered that they used Excel for absolutely everything in this new company, and they didn't do a great job of it. Not everybody. Again, I was still that person people were coming to ask questions. And what really frustrated me was that I didn't have the time to show people properly how to use Excel, because it wasn't my job to show them how to use Excel. And it used to really bug me, because I love Excel, and it used to really upset me that other people didn't and other people hated it. And I realized that they hated it, or they were uncomfortable with it, purely because they didn't know how to use it. And I just knew that if I could take the time to properly show them how to use it properly, then they'd love it too, or like it a little bit maybe. So then my ideas started flowing about, would I actually start a business all about Excel? Bearing in mind as well, I was about to turn 30, and I remember thinking, what job do I really want that's going to make me jump out of bed in the morning and be happy to go to work and not be wishing away the time for the weekends? And I thought, if I could talk about spreadsheets all day, every day, I'd love that. That would tick all the boxes for me. So that was my mission. That's what I went off for. So in 2008, Excel Ace was born. Yay! And this was my original logo back in 2008. But back when I didn't know what I was doing, I didn't know how to run a business. I didn't know about networking. I didn't know about local businesses. I literally kind of stumbled over a company in Nottingham. Don't even know where Nottingham is in the UK. But I found a web designer who designed my logo, a 5-page website, and my stationery business cards for about £300. And that website lasted me for about 10 years till I changed it. So it did me well, thankfully. So I was kind of lucky with that little find. My mission with XLA, so there were 3 things that I wanted it to do. I wanted to, number 1, make people love Excel. ultimately. I also desperately needed to replace my accountancy salary because, as you know, I don't have a husband to pay the mortgage. So this had to keep a roof over my head. And I also wanted to enjoy my work. I didn't want to be wishing for the weekends again. I wanted to love what I did. And that was the idea behind Excel Ace. So my initial intention was as well just to find projects to work on. I didn't plan to do training because I'd done Excel training. I'd been in Excel training and it was boring. I didn't enjoy it. So for me, I didn't want to just do standard Excel training. That wasn't my plan. My plan was to do just go in and transform spreadsheets and work on a big project and then go on to the next company. That was the idea. And how did I plan to do this? Well, I was quite lucky when I started because I had one client already that I was working on. I was helping them do reporting and things. They referred me into another client. So I essentially had 2 clients in the first couple of months, which was amazing. And they paid me quite well. And I thought I was doing well. That was fine for me. I was working on the projects. I was happy. They were giving me great feedback and I was being able to pay the bills. So mission accomplished. We're achieving the goal here. So I was happy. I did at that time, I did try to do some networking, but people kind of looked at me weird when I said I like spreadsheets. So I thought, well, maybe networking's not really for me. So didn't do much more of that. So all was well. And you would think, great, the end. Unfortunately not. My next sheet. My next sheet, how did that go? So 2000 well, I don't know why I started out in 2007, but it went really well, and then boom, it crashed down to nothing. So in 2008 in the UK, we had a recession. So crazily, that's when I started the business. And I was all right for the first couple of years, but it took a couple of years for the recession to really take a hold. And the companies I was working for were kind of government funded agencies. So come 2010, their funding was pulled and they were like, sorry, Trace, we can't carry on anymore. And because networking hadn't worked and because I'd kind of got complacent's the key word here, I hadn't tried to find any other business. I was just quite happy with these 2 clients. And then it all kind of went horribly wrong and had nothing left. And clearly no husband, had to pay my own mortgage. So it was a case of I need to pick this up. I need to recover this. And at this point, I realized some of the mistakes that I made, that I didn't know anything about social media. I didn't really know how to network properly. But I just knew that I was good at this and that I could make this successful. And I also knew that at this point, I loved what I've been doing so much. There was no way I could go back into a full-time employment. So I had to make this work. Okay. So that was the mission. So recovery. So how did I recover from this? First of all, I decided that I had to stay positive. I had to keep smiling every day. And I also made myself do every single day, just one thing, just at least one thing every single day that was going to help me to move forward. Okay. So I then started looking into networking events. So I had to go to networking events and I had to make an effort to speak to people and to have one-to-ones and really help them to understand what it was that I did. And I kind of managed to do that really by listening to them more so talking to them about data within their business and then finding out how they were using data. And then I could say, oh, well, actually, if you had a spreadsheet, you could do it like this. Not that I was trying to sell to everybody, but that was how I helped them to understand what it was that I did and I was looking for. So that was great. And as well, going to networking events helped me to get ideas on and find experts in social media who could give me training and stuff like that. I also, from networking, decided to do speaking events because I love spreadsheets and I'm really passionate about them. And to actually be able to stand in front of a room and explain how to use something, I just love to do. So getting the opportunity to speak in front of a room full of people as well was a great way to sort of spread the word about what I was doing and what I was able to do and what Excel could do and what people might have been missing out on, more importantly. And And I also had to learn new skills. So the skills were the social media, email marketing was a big one that I did back in the day. I used to do email marketing and just share little tips and snippets. And because I was meeting so many people at networking events, that's how I grew my contacts database for the email marketing, for the social media. And then as well, because I wasn't very busy with doing lots of work stuff, I started to learn VBA. And bizarrely, I'd always avoided VBA in spreadsheets because it looked difficult. It looked like computer programming. And I thought, oh, that's not for me. And then, because I had no work to do, I thought, oh, I'm going to start playing with this. I also had a client who desperately needed something, and the only way to really do it was with VBA. So I started teaching myself VBA, literally through trial and error and Google. I like to do things the hard way. But what I found about VBA was it was absolute golden. And I don't think there's a spreadsheet I use these days that doesn't include VBA in it some way, somehow, even just tiny, you know, if it's just refreshing the pivot table as you select the sheet, I have VBA everywhere. So as a mixture of all of these things, I found that from doing networking and things that people were intrigued by my enthusiasm for Excel because they were like, we hate spreadsheets. Why is she so excited? And I found that people wanted to know more and were intrigued just because of my natural enthusiasm. People also tell me that my enthusiasm is kind of infectious. So they might walk into some training and sort of hate spreadsheets, and then all of a sudden they kind of quite like them. So that was kind of a good skill that I have. I also found that people that I talked to networking would say to me, oh, isn't it a good job that your surname's Excel? I said, it isn't. But people in the Northwest just started to get to know me for being Traci Excel. And a lot of them would put my name in their phone as Traci Excel. And they just thought that was genuinely my name. And it wasn't. So as a result of all of this, I then, I'm just going to move this sheets along. As a result of all of the everything I'd learned, I then set up training, which I always avoided. I never wanted to do Excel training because I thought it was boring. But then I realized that actually from talking to people at networking events, there was a need for Excel training, because the basics that I assumed everybody already knew, which is why I didn't think people wanted training, I realized that they didn't know. Not everybody knows all these things. So I set up 3 workshops, basic, intermediate, and advanced. And I also do bespoke workshops. And within each workshop, everyone gets documentation. Which I had to write all that documentation. I had to write some content that I was going to talk about as the subject of the workshops. I generated certificates. I gave everyone chocolate while I was doing workshops, and that always cheered them up at the beginning. And I also had some XLA's pens made, which everyone tended to love as well. So I used to do workshops face to face. I'd travel around the country. I'd, spend a couple of days down south, a couple of days in Leeds, and just do face to face training. And actually, I surprised myself how much I loved it. I would just love seeing that penny dropping moment in people's faces when they were like, oh, is that all you need to do? And I just loved it. I really, really got a buzz from it. So the 3 workshops, these are still the workshops that I do today, the basic, intermediate, advanced. The bespoke is actually my favorite. This one, I don't prepare for. I literally turn up into a company and I say, show me your spreadsheets. And then we use their live spreadsheets throughout a workshop. And I look at them and I go, you need to do this, you need to put this there, you need to change this. And I will literally change their spreadsheets during the training, while I'm also training them on the functions that I'm using. So it's brilliant for the company because they get a tangible instant benefit, because by the time I leave, they've got a spruced up spreadsheet. And everyone has to have understood what I've said, otherwise they can't use it when I've left. So they're my favourite because they're so that the clients get such a benefit from it. So training was one of the things I did straight away. The next thing I did was worked on some templates. So I have some free templates. So these are available already on my website now, just free to download for everybody. And then I've got some paid templates. So I developed a bookkeeping model. So the bookkeeping model actually came from a conversation I had with somebody at a networking event. And she said, oh, my accountant phoned, I've got to pay a great big fat amount of money in tax tomorrow. And I said, well, you must have known, you must have had some idea. And she said, no, I had no clue. And I said, oh, well, how do you do your bookkeeping? How do you do your accounts? And she said, I literally get a carrier bag and I just put anything that comes through with a number on in that bag and hand it to the accountant. And I said, well, that's criminal. You can't be doing that. So I literally cobbled together some spreadsheets and said, if nothing else, fill these in. So this was years and years ago. And over the years, I've developed it. I've now included macros. So you only ever see one sheet at a time on the bookkeeping. Everything's protected and locked down, so you can't change something you're not allowed to change. You can't see the formulas. You literally just fill it. It's like bookkeeping by color, basically. You fill in the green cells, and your profit and loss is worked out. I've also, the bookkeeping model in the UK, we have something called Making Tax Digital. So it means that our VAT returns right now, you're not allowed to touch them manually. They've got to be all submitted electronically. So my bookkeeping model now also complies with the MTD for UK VAT, which is really cool. So all of these templates are the free templates. The mission for those really was almost like a bit of a pull-in. So they're free for people to download just so they can see the power of Excel and then go, oh, maybe they'll come back to me and say, can you make me a project? So that's the intention of the free templates. The paid templates, obviously, it's revenue generating. The bookkeeping model, there's an annual renewal fee for those. So it helps. It's sort of revenue generating, obviously. And then my beloved projects. So on my website, I have this little icon, which is from my logo, and it says, let Excel do the hard work. Okay, and then you've got your muscles. So over the years, I've done I've done so many projects, but I tried to pick out a couple just to give you a bit of a flavour of the different type of things that I do. So I've worked with the university, and we've looked at their attendance records by students and by individual lecture, and that helps us to calculate across all lectures that they were supposed to attend if they've had poor attendance, which is a crazily complicated process that until you actually delve into it, you're like, oh, that is quite complex. So you think it'd be an easy thing to do. It's not. But with the help of a lot of macros, this process, it literally generates and sends letters out to individual students. So that was a great project to get my teeth into. I've got a roofing company that I've done a lot of work with over the years. And all these companies, by the way, they've literally been ongoing clients with me for probably about the last 10 years. The roofing company, we set up month-end reports based on both financial and quantitative data. And most recently, I've gone back to them and we've upgraded it all. So we've now connected things with Power Query, which is super exciting. So it's great to be able to take these existing processes and then upgrade them for all the new technology that Excel's bringing out, which is fab. I've got a global chemical company that I've worked with. I helped them build a health and safety checklist that they now use across the whole world on all of their sites, which is really cool. I quite like that. And then recently this year, we've worked on their timesheet reporting. So they've got production who work in 24-hour shifts. They have maintenance who do on call, and then they've got the office staff and they have flexi time. So all three of them, all three different areas, they already have spreadsheets where they collect their timesheet information, and they wanted to be able to consolidate it all into one. But because of the different quirks of each area, they all use such different spreadsheets. It was impossible just to, make one spreadsheet fit all. So when I went to look at what they had, I said, you carry on doing what you've got there. You leave those spreadsheets as they are for each different area, and we'll use Power Query to then consolidate all three and reformat them for the information that we need. That worked like a dream. It was amazing. So that is, another great project. And thank you for Power Query. I wouldn't have been able to do it without it. Or we've had to use VBA a lot. And then another project I've been working with the US companies is CDR reporting, which is chemical data reporting. So it's all about volumes and how much volume has been produced and manufactured and imported. And that's again, it's very complex information. And again, Power Query to the rescue there. I've worked with a nationwide charity. They've been clients of mine for 10 years, 10, 12 years even, maybe. For them, they have different sites across the UK, and I think there's 24 sites. And we have a business plan for each of them by quarter and by campaign. And they actually include data every month, which is actuals then gets compared to what their budget was for the year. So again, that's really complex. And then as well as that, they need to then consolidate it all up. So it's just a great project. And then a smaller project I worked on was for a sole trader, and he does fire safety reports for companies. And he literally, I think it was fire doors. So he literally would go into a company and take a picture of all the doors. And then he'd want to build a report where he could then include all of the pictures and all of the data. So I literally built a template, and we've linked it with hyperlinks and the image formula, so that he literally saves all the files into a specific folder, and it automatically displays the images in the report, which is really cool. So it just saves him loads of time. So they're just examples of some of the projects that I've worked on, but most projects, they either improve efficiency, or they save time, or they just save the users having to actually know the ins and outs of Excel, because I've locked it all down. I give the macro buttons to press. So that is essentially how Excel Ace is now set up. We've got the training, we've got templates, we've got projects, and it was great. That really helped me to sort of pick things up again, recover the business, if you like. So 2018, I got a new logo, had a refreshed logo. How cute does that look? And then sales kind of picked up again, and they steadily grew and grew and grew and grew, to the point where sales were so good, I had got myself a new number plate for my car, which is Excel Ace, which is just amazing. And the first time a client said to me, "I saw your car in B&Q yesterday," I was so excited because I've been recognised. But yeah, the business was going amazingly well, to the point where it was going too well. It was going too well, and I say that because I was so busy and I was saying yes to everything, and I was struggling. I was having to work weekends and evenings to keep up with things because I had so much to do. And I was going on holiday, and I started feeling guilty for having this holiday booked. And I remember thinking, oh, maybe I should cancel the holiday, and I felt like I was about to let clients down because I had so much and I was juggling so much. And I didn't cancel the holiday. I still went. But before I went, I remember feeling, I don't like this anymore. This isn't fun anymore. I'm feeling too under pressure. And then I'm just going to give you a quick trigger warning, because when I ungroup this little section, there is an actual picture of an X-ray, because I actually had an accident on that holiday and I broke my elbow. So there's my actual X-ray. So I'd literally had this crazy moment before I went on holiday, thinking, this is too much, this is too much. And then when I went on holiday, had an accident in the airport on the way home, smashed my elbow in. So I needed surgery, and I literally couldn't work for 3 months, which is not ideal when you work on a computer. And again, no husband to pay the mortgage. I need to get back to work quickly. And it was a really difficult time, because I was so busy before I went on holiday that I had so much to catch up on when I come back. But when I did get back, it was a case of I had to, with one finger, type an auto reply to say, I've had an accident and I need surgery and I'll be back soon. There was nothing else I could do. And amazingly, I realised that the world didn't fall apart, and I've got such amazing loyal clients that they were more concerned for me, and they just waited for me to get better, because they knew that my first opportunity to get back, I would be there. So they were amazing, thankfully. And this was the end of September, I had the accident. So I was off for 3 months, went back in about January, and then what happened in 2020? COVID. So I was just getting back to normal, trying to pick up where I'd left off, and then COVID happily came along and shut the world down. Okay, so amazingly, COVID for me wasn't the end of the world. I've always just worked from home anyway, so that was fine for me. The biggest change for me was face-to-face training, because I'd always done it face-to-face, which again meant me driving around the country, which was fine. It was just the norm, wasn't it? However, because we were in lockdown for such a long time and couldn't go face to face even when we opened up again, I thought, well, people still need to learn, and even more so because people where they might have been in an office previously and could have shouted across, my VLOOKUP's not working. All of a sudden they're at home and they've got no one else to ask that the VLOOKUP's not working. So I thought, actually, maybe I really need to do some of this online training with people to upskill them for while they are at home. So I didn't know how it would go. So I just started doing some free 1 hour sessions on Zoom, kind of mainly for my friends at first, just because I thought, well, I mean, I still had business, but a lot of the clients I worked with, they closed down, they stopped spending. So although I was still working, I didn't have a massive workload at the time. So I actually registered as an NHS volunteer responder. So I was able to go out and collect prescriptions for people and do shopping and things like that. So that's how I kind of filled my own personal time. And as I say, I then thought, well, maybe I should do some training for my friends just to help them out. So I started that. And then I started inviting some of the clients onto some of the training because I thought, well, I'm doing it anyway, it might be useful for them. And then I thought the feedback that I was getting was that because I was doing the training in 1 hour chunks instead of a 3 hour block, it was just enough for people to get an insight into things, but not overload them. And then I'd give them a week and we'd come back the following week and do another hour's worth of training. So they'd learn another little chunk more. And the feedback was actually really, really good. And obviously doing things over Zoom, you can record the sessions and then people can watch them back. And it was just great. So online training has just been a thing for me ever since. So thank you for that, COVID. I did also enjoy the slower pace because this is what I was aiming for at this point, wasn't it? But then obviously things picked up again and things are busy as ever. In 2021, I got a brand new logo again. So this is the current logo as well now. And I also got brand new, gorgeous, shiny website, which was painful to put together, but it was worth it because it's brill. One of the brilliant things about my website is that from doing the online training at first, because it was just doing it for friends and things, I was manually sending the Zoom invites to people. I was manually sending them reminders. I was manually sending them documentation. So what this website does is within services there, you can find the workshop section, you can see all the next available workshops, and then that takes care of all the automation of sending the email, sending the documentation, all that kind of stuff. So that was a real massive sort of like grown-up website for me, it felt like. So that's my current website. That's what we did in 2021. Last year in 2022, what was the new thing for me? I learned Power Query. Woohoo! When you've already heard me talk about how I've used Power Query loads. So Power Query, bit of a game changer again. It's just amazing. And when I say I've learned Power Query, I mean I'm learning Power Query. There's so much to it. I've worked with a few clients with Power Query and done quite a few little projects. And so I've seen quite a lot of the things that it can do, but I know I'm only scratching the surface with it. I know there's so much more it can do. So I'm still learning, always learning, which I love. So what does the future hold for Excel Ace? Well, at the end of September, which is at the end of next week, I'm actually launching a super exciting new on-demand workshops. So with my training, I obviously still do face-to-face if that's what required. I now do the online, but then next week I'm going to be launching the on-demand, which basically means people can access all the workshops that I do, but pre-recorded. So they don't have to align diaries. They can literally get access to all of the recordings for all of the videos. They can watch them in their own time. They can re-watch them. I'm always aware that I talk pretty fast as well, so people can press pause or they can rewind me, which is the brilliant thing about on-demand. It's also in this day and age, people are just so busy, it's hard to pin people down to set times. So giving people the opportunity to study in their own time is brilliant. At the end of each of these workshops, there's a really cool quiz as well. It's 20 multiple choice questions that people can take to check whether or not they've understood everything. I'm currently in the process of having people test this for me. So I've had a few people actually get through the quizzes. And one person said, I had to take it twice because I messed it up the first time. And I love it. And I love that it's giving people the opportunity to actually test real time at the end, whether they have understood all the different bits and pieces. So I'm super excited for the on-demand workshops. I can't wait to share that with the world and unleash it with people. And what else? Power BI. Now, I haven't touched Power BI at all. I mean, it's not Excel for a start. Maybe that's been my issue with it. But look, you can see it's there. It's there just waiting to get delved into. So obviously, I want to develop Power Query a lot more, but Power BI is really the next natural extension, I think, isn't it? And I just think that Power BI will give me another sort of string that I can then add benefit to clients with. So hopefully that is my next mission. I've got a brilliant book by the fabulous Alan Murray that I'm going to delve into to help me with Power BI. So yeah, that's the next thing, probably next year for me. Now, would I recommend starting a business based on Excel? Absolutely, 100%. Yes, I would. I have absolutely loved it. Even the times when it wasn't really that good. In fact, I remember one of those times my dad actually took me out for breakfast, and when I was really struggling, my dad said, how long are you going to give this? And I remember looking at him thinking, and I said, Dad, do you not think I can do this? And he said, yeah, you can. He said, but I just don't want you to struggle. And even during those times when I was struggling, I still could not comprehend going to get a proper job, as my gran called it. I just knew that I loved this so much that it had to work. So yes, I would recommend it. But my top tips will be patient. So I'm one of those people who wants everything now. And when I started this business, I would send it, somebody would inquire and I'd send them a proposal and then they wouldn't reply to me within the hour. I'd be like, where are they? And I realized that, actually, people need to take their time on things. So you have to be patient and give people time to respond. It's really majorly important to develop relationships with people. You can't just expect people to trust you instantly. You need to build a rapport. You need to help them to trust you, give a little bit for free, and build those relationships. Like I mentioned before, lots of the clients that I work with, they've been long-standing clients for years and years and years. And because they're such long-standing clients, it basically means that when I broke my elbow, they all just kind of, okay, we'll wait for you. So that was only because of the relationships that I've developed with them. I would also say be confident about what it is that you know and humble enough to admit what you don't. I think I remember one of my very early workshops that I tried to do, and somebody asked during the workshop, well, what about such a thing? And I didn't know what it was. And I tried to wing it. And I must have just come across like an idiot because I clearly didn't know. And now I ask people when I'm doing a workshop, ask me anything. And I tell them that if I don't know the answer, I will email them before I go to bed that night with an answer. And for me, that's the challenge, because I know I'm good at Excel and I know a lot, but I don't know it all. And I don't profess to know it all. And I don't think any of us do. And I think it's humbling just to say, I don't know, but I'm gonna find out an answer now. And I've learned so much from running this business, from people asking me questions I didn't know the answer to. So yeah, there's nothing worse than people, oh yes, I know everything. They're the worst, aren't they? So always just make sure that you're humble if you don't know, and admit it. And don't compare yourself to others, because everybody is unique. And so they should be, and we should be proud of our uniqueness. We're not all going to be everybody's cup of tea, but that's fine too. But just don't try and compare yourself to others. We all have sort of different qualities, different positive things. So we're not all supposed to be the same. And don't ever expect running your own business, especially in Excel, to be easy, because it isn't. I remember thinking, oh, well, it's been difficult now and now it'll just be easy. And it never is. this picture of a roller coaster is what it feels like running a business, especially XLAs. You're going along great guns, and something happens, and then you pick up again, and then something happens. So I feel like I've been on a bit of a roller coaster journey in the last 15 years. But I quite like roller coasters. I've buckled in. But if you're expecting it to be easy, then it's not for you, I think. Okay, so I think that's everything I was going to talk about today, Faraz.
Hi, Traci. Yeah, that was lovely, that you have shown the limits beyond excelling, the title itself says, excelling beyond the limits, and how you can turn out your Excel into a business. This was a really something very different. I was expecting from you, and thank you for sharing this knowledge. And if anybody has any question, they can feel free to write it in the chat, or you can feel free to ask Traci. And we still have some time. We can definitely have a chat. And let me check any questions is there in the YouTube as well, because there are a lot of your fans as well on YouTube. Okay, so there is a question that you gave trainings only on Excel or as well as other Office applications.
Oh no, only Excel. And over the years, people have said to me, "Oh, you should start Word Ace." And I thought, "Oh no, I only love Excel." and I genuinely am passionate about Excel. And I couldn't pretend to be excited about Word or anything else. So no, it's just Excel for me.
Okay, there's a question in the YouTube chat: how to cooperate with other Excel businesses?
How to cooperate?
Yeah.
To be honest, it's not something I've done, but I do. The Excel community and all the MVPs and everybody, everyone is just so welcoming, so helpful. I've not done any sort of collaborations or anything with anybody, but I'm sure if there was an opportunity to, everyone's fab in the community, and it'd be great to, if there was an opportunity to, I'm sure everyone would be open to
it. I think myself and Traci, we met in Bulgaria when I was there for an Excel event. So that's how I know Traci over there. And first time when I stepped in, you were taking picture with Oz, and I was really excited because I find you very welcoming, energetic. And then we have a small chat, and that's how I know Traci, and she's really great in Excel. And as what she rightly said, this community of Excel is like a lot of people are there to help each other, and that's the beauty, that everybody comes, whether it's an MVP, non-MVP. He comes and he helps to the community. That's how people are contributing. Okay, so there's one question in the chat. We'll take this last question. And, we say, how difficult or easy it is to establish the price for your service? So
well, that's a great question.
It should be a price. It should be a price to answer this question.
Yeah. To be honest, when I very first started, I knew what my hourly rate was as an accountant, so I was trying to achieve that really, just because I needed to get a salary. So I wrote a business plan for XL8 when I first started, which is embarrassing. I'm never reading it to anybody. And in that business plan, I had a set hourly rate that I wanted to achieve. Okay, and I'll tell you what that was. It was £50 an hour is what I wanted to achieve. But at the beginning, I remember thinking, that's an obscene amount of money. I can't possibly charge anybody that. So I'd go to networking events and people would ask me what my rate was. And I wasn't charging that. And I'd say 25. And I was almost apologetic for charging £25 an hour when really I wanted 50. And people said, oh, that's a lot. So it didn't help my confidence at all. This is why networking didn't work for me at all at the beginning. Till I learned how to do it properly. So yeah, it was really, really difficult. So when I was networking, I found that you were speaking to people who probably didn't really appreciate what the offering was that you were going to give to them. What I found when I was speaking to actual clients, when I could actually look at their projects and show them, look, this is what I can achieve for you, they didn't bat an eyelid at the £50 an hour. And from client number 3 that came on board, I increased it from then. So within the first 12 months, I'd started charging more than was in the business plan originally. And quite often now on projects, I don't even talk about an hourly rate, I talk about a project rate. I literally will look at a project and say, well, this will cost X amount for the entire project, which includes this and the documentation and support and blah, blah, blah. So quite often we don't even talk about our hourly rates there. But I do sort of have a set hourly rate that I work off in my head. So.
Amazing. So, Traci, thank you so much for this lovely and very unique session today, which we had it, and I'm definitely going to connect with you even after the session.
Good.
Okay, definitely need some advices. Okay, but right now we are going to sign out from YouTube, but I would request all the people, those who are in Zoom, please stay back. So usually, Traci, what happens when the session is getting in, I ask the speaker to say any motivational quote or whatever, any last word they wanted to say for the YouTube audience, and then we just end up from YouTube, but we'll be still staying back on Zoom. So,
Okay.
Traci, anything, any off quotes or anything from what can motivate or anything, whatever you feel free to say it.
I think I'm just going to go back to that slide before when I talked to when I talked about staying positive. I think staying positive is absolutely the most important thing that you can do in any situation, not just running a business. But yeah, positivity, always the way.
Great. Thank you, my friends. So we will be signing out from YouTube, and I'll be seeing you in the next session, which is scheduled in the Meetup page. You can feel free to check that out. So signing out from YouTube, my friends, and see you in the next session. Take care. Bye.